Welcome to the SBR NHL Ice Guys. It is Tuesday, October the 9th. I'm Ian Cameron for Sportsbook Review. And just like last Tuesday, which was our premiere episode of Season 2, we got the whole entire team in the house for this Tuesday card. Alex B. Smith, Andrew McGinnis, Dana Lane, and Jimmy Murphy joining me on this Tuesday with a nice, not a huge card for a Tuesday, but very intriguing one. Lots of games to talk about, lots of intriguing matchups to break down. Let's start with Alex B. Smith, get his first take on a Tuesday morning. Alex, how are you?
I'm doing pretty well. Like I said, we finally got the first weekend of hockey underway. Wasn't the best weekend for me personally, but trying to get everything sorted out, figure out where these teams are going. So we've seen a lot of offense like we did last year this time at the beginning of the year. So hoping to see if that trend continues or kind of slumps off this week. But overall, like I said, short card, but a good card today in the NHL.
All right, and Andrew McGinnis joining us here, the other Canadian, along with me on this great panel. And off to a good start this season from what I've seen. Andrew, how are you?
Good, guys. Good. It's obviously the season's off and running. We're about a week in, and roughly, and we've seen a lot of upsets. We've seen a lot of tight games. A lot of teams playing a lot better than people expected to. A lot of teams playing a little worse than people expected them to, and a lot of high-scoring games and a lot of goalies really overperforming in my eyes. So heading into this week, I'll have to see if that can continue. So I look forward to this week, guys.
All right, very good. And Dana Lane, who did not have one of the best Saturday. I'm not talking about handicapping or betting anymore. I'm talking about in a UNLV college hockey bus that smells to high heaven. And Dana recounted that great experience to us right before we went on air. But Dana's back in nice, fresher smelling, better smelling places right now. Dana, how are you?
I'm good, man. Hey, and listen, I'm telling you, I wouldn't have it any other way because I remember just coming home at like 2 o'clock in the morning. We're trying to get into Nevada, and I just remember thinking, man, this is hockey. This is the way it should be. It's just this feet and Chick-fil-A smell this is what hockey is all about. But hey, you know what, guys? I have to tell you, as far as my local team is concerned, the Vegas Golden Knights, I've said this 100 times. I said this game, you could put the players on the piece of paper and say that they should do this, but numbers will only tell you where you've been. They will never tell you where you're going. And right now, this is a team that screams of the word lethargic, and that's exactly what it looks like with them. It also screams of what the Edmonton Oilers were a year ago as well. I mean, sometimes people think that you got to win the Stanley Cup to come back the next year and have your belly full, and that's not the case. You can lose the Stanley Cup, you can lose the Western Conference Final. You think of everything that fell into place for the Golden Knights last year as far as contracts were up. The October 1st incident, all these things. People were they were castaways, all these things that this team leaned on, and now those things aren't there to lean on anymore. There was no tragedy, thankfully. Everybody has gotten paid for the most part. They're dealing with some injuries, they're dealing with a suspension, and now we've got to see people who have it internally that are able to pick this team up. And right now, outside of Jonathan Marchessault, and by the way, the goals that they're scoring is not based on Carlson and Marchessault and Riley Smith. They're in odd man situations. They're catching teams in line changes. Eric Hollett, the goal that he scored was when he was skating with Marchessault. So that's worrisome to me that the guys that are supposed to be on this line are not a cohesive unit at this point. So I worry a little bit for Vegas, and I wonder where that motivation is going to come from.
No, I really do too, Dana. It's a good point. It's been a 1-2 start, and maybe a little fortuitous too with that one win against Minnesota. So interesting to see if the Golden Knights can rebound. And it's funny, you talked about the bus smell. It's funny. There was a hockey bag. A friend of mine's a big hockey player as growing up as a kid, and he still plays it from time to time. And at one time there was a hockey bag in the back seat of his car, and I could, what the hell is that smell? And I could have sworn that hockey bag, that old hockey bag with all the stink-ass equipment in it, it had that old stale urine smell. I'm not kidding. I mean, it was one of the rancid things I've ever smelled before.
Listen, one word, guys. One word. Febreze. Yeah. Easy. Done.
What's that old commercial with Mom and the Son, Febreze? What's that stink? And she's like,
oh, man.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, exactly. All right, Jimmy Murphy. We got to intro him, the last of our great panel on this Tuesday. Jimmy, the Bruins, a team you cover. You follow them very, very closely. Nice win for them yesterday against the Ottawa Senators as they explode for 6 in a 6-3 win, double up Ottawa. What are you seeing from the Bruins so far early this season?
Well, I'm seeing it just like any other team, a team trying to find where they're at, where their weaknesses are and where their strengths are. And I think even though they win yesterday, they still realized, and it was pretty evident during the game, because there's an incident when I believe it was Ottawa's second goal. Their third line was supposed to be out there, and they only had 4 guys out there. There was only 2 forwards out there, and there was a big hiccup, and Ottawa ends up scoring. So that third line right now is really in flux, and that's going to be something to watch as that Bruins team goes on, because they really need to establish a center there, and I think they wanted it to be one of their rookies, whether it was Trent Frederick or Jake Studnicka. And I think that it just didn't happen. They're not ready yet, and they're going to need a little more seasoning down there. So until then, you're looking maybe, it could go game by game and who's in that third line slot. Yesterday it was David Backes. He did okay, but I'm not sure that he is able. I like him at center. I like the big body in front. I'm not sure he's able to keep up with the speed of this game right now to play the center position. He might be better suited at the wing. So that's something to look at. As far as I thought, the big story, obviously Patrice Bergeron gets a hat trick, and he's been great, even though he missed the preseason. But I think the biggest story was Tuukka Rask. And, I wrote this for CLNS Media, who I write for here in Boston, heading into the game. And people said, hey, whoa, it's only game 3. No, this was a must win for Tuukka Rask. They didn't go out and get Yaroslav Halak and sign him to a 2-year deal worth more money than they were paying Anton Khudobin last year, just so he could sit on the bench and come in every 10 games or so often. They want a 1A and a 1B. And they also, if Rask stumbles out of the gate here, Halak could become that 1A right away. So, Tuukka has to be looking over his shoulder now, and I think that's going to be good for him. I think it's going to make him elevate his play. But after that debacle he had in the season opener, guys, I think this was exactly what he needed. It wasn't the tidiest of wins. He had a couple bad goals he let in, but he got the win, and his confidence will build from that, and that's huge for the Bruins.
Yep, Tuukka Rask. It's like, which side of the bed do you wake up on, Tuukka? Because that's basically what's going to decide how you perform. That's kind of what we're thinking of lately with him. Going back to last season, of course, it was very much like that. It's like throw a coin up in the air. Which way is it going to fall? Which way? What are you going to get from Tuukka Rask?
Right. And you remember too, guys, he only won 1 game in October last year. I think he was something like 1-7-1 or 1-8-1, and then he went on a tear the rest of the season. Right, he went like 28-3-1 or something. So, he takes a while usually to get into the season. I don't think the Bruins are going to give him that time period this year. I think they're like, look, you either show up now or we're going right to Halak. And there's a lot of pressure from the media and the fans here, too. He's basically, I don't know if you guys know about David Price here with the Red Sox, who's been cast into the bullpen. But, he is enemy number 1 here. He's public enemy number 1, and he is the GOAT. The bad GOAT, not the GOAT like Tom Brady. He's the bad GOAT here. And I think Tuukka is approaching that David Price status for some reason, even though he's taken his team to the final in 2013. And overall, his stats are pretty good in his career. He's still he's a lightning rod for criticism. So it's key that he continues this early success.
Exactly. The Boston Bruins Cup in 2011 wasn't no Tuukka Rask. That was Tim the Toolman Thomas, of course, way back in those days. And
everyone thinks that he can somehow live up to that. Nobody's ever going to do what Tim Thomas did there. He had the year of a lifetime and the playoff run of a lifetime. An incredible. And then he went to a bunker.
Exactly. Yeah, and then he disappeared off the face of the planet. Essentially, that's exactly what happened. All right, guys.
Thinking of a documentary too, guys. I want to say this: Finding Tim Thomas.
That's a good one. I'd be interested. I'd watch 100%. Like, where the hell did that man go? All of a sudden, Cup champion right into the confines of oblivion, apparently. All right, Colorado taking on Columbus to begin this 6-game NHL card. We've got the Avs and the Jackets. Columbus minus 140 in this game, home favorite, total 6, shaded to the under. There's a couple injury notes coming into this game. We've got, of course, Gabe Landeskog on that lethal top line with Nathan McKinnon and Mikko Rantanen. Landeskog currently listed as day-to-day due to an injury as well. You look on the Columbus side, they are an already banged-up hockey team early this season. Seth Jones hasn't started the season yet. He's been out and will continue to be out for a period of time. Brandon Dubinsky's been ruled out now for the next 4 to 6 weeks due to injury. There was question Zach Werenski on the back end may not play tonight, but he's been upgraded to probable. So definitely some injury concerns on both sides. And also depth forward for the Colorado Avalanche. Sven Andrighetto and his coaches cried. There we go, a little Elvis Presley. Sven Andrighetto not playing here for the Colorado Avalanche tonight. Yeah, that's why his coaches are crying. He's not playing. They'd like to have him in there. I'm not involved in this game either way, side or total. Columbus to me just hasn't put it all together yet, in my opinion. Looking for them to get a little more consistency. Their goaltending too. Bobrovsky didn't have a great preseason. Korpisalo is at best. So their goaltending probably looking to work out those kinks early. So this game's one I won't be involved in here on the Tuesday card. This is going to be on Dana Lane's selection list for this Tuesday. Avalanche taking on the Blue Jackets. Dana, what do you like here in this game?
Well, as you said, Ian, I mean, injuries are the name of the game for both teams. And if you guys have been with me long enough to know that when there's injuries and there's people moving around on the lines, that creates chaos, and chaos creates turnovers, which leads to scoring opportunities. And as you said, Landeskog is out for the Avalanche, and it looks like that Matt Calvert's going to go up in his spot to replace him there, and he should be an okay fit there. I mean, obviously, the other factor is that he's going home per se to play, so he should be jacked up to have an expanded role there. Brandon Dubinsky is out he's out as well. He suffered an oblique injury on Sunday in practice, so Dubinsky and Seth Jones are both out. Philip Grubauer is the confirmed starter for Colorado. Or I'm sorry, for Colorado, and Bobrovsky for Columbus. And Grubauer is making his first start of the season, and I'm just kind of looking at the odds right now. He's making his first start of the season, and he's a guy that faced just 27 shots a night last season for the Washington Capitals. And you have to ask yourself, when he's in net, this is not a Colorado team that gives up just 27 a game. He's going to have to step up and be a guy that's going to face close to 35 shots a night. In fact, Colorado last year, and I know that they started off well this season in their few games, but last season, I mean, this was a team that gave up 33 shots a game. So I still have a question of whether or not he's a guy that's going to be able to handle the increased workload. There's a big difference between getting 33 shots and 27 shots, and I know what the difference is 6, but, in there, you have to figure there's going to be 1 or 2 quality shots that you're going to be asking him to make stops on. So there is quite a difference between 33 and 27, and I think he's going to have to be better than he was in Washington, because obviously with that offense, a lot of the times that the offense overshadowed any weakness when he was in. And don't get me wrong, I mean, he was a fantastic goal. To see him be first team, and I think that's kind of my overall point. Historically, this has been a good over spot for Colorado. They're 22-9 and to the over against the East dating back to last season. They're also on a 10-4 run to the over as well. So I'm going over 6 in this game. Too much chaos, too many people out, too many moving pieces, and to me that screams over.
All right, over for Dana Lane in Colorado, Columbus. Interesting battle there. Next up, what have we got? San Jose. Oh, very good one. San Jose, Philadelphia. We've got Philadelphia minus 110, even money on both sides essentially right now. The total 6 shaded to the under, minus 118, minus 120 in this game. You got the San Jose Sharks, whether it was, just the New York Islanders, an environment that had very little ambiance. The crowd was piss poor from everything I saw there in that Islander home game yesterday. It just caught San Jose for a loop. They did not play great by any stretch of the imagination, although the Islanders did get surprisingly, after years of seeing him scuffle and sputter and not stay healthy in Buffalo, got a good performance from Robin Lehner yesterday in net for the Islanders. A 4-0 shutout win over this San Jose team. And San Jose, all the hype all the expectations, all the moves. Of course, Erik Karlsson, the big one in the offseason, and yet a little bit of a rumbling, bumbling, and stumbling 1-2 start here for the San Jose Sharks. Haven't really put it all together. I've been disappointed with Martin Jones so far. It hasn't exactly been a great start for him in between the pipes, traveling along in an 850, 860 save percentage realm. That's definitely got to improve long term. If you're Jones, need him to be a little bit more sturdier in that. That may not come into play here because you're likely going to see Aaron Dell make his debut in net for the San Jose Sharks, a guy that actually performed very, very capably last year in between the pipes for the San Jose Sharks. So I think it's looking like Pete DeBoer is going to end up rolling with him as a starter. No Joe Thornton, of course. He was injured, did not play yesterday, also will be out today. So loss there for the Sharks, but an equally big loss for the Flyers. James Van Riemsdyk, who actually was able to stay relatively healthy most of his tenure in Toronto. First week with the Flyers and basically out again and out for a decent amount of time now for this Flyers team. So we'll see how they cope with that. They had a nice first game of the season against the Vegas Golden Knights. Could not sustain that in Colorado as they lose to the Avalanche in their second game here. This is a back-to-back for San Jose, but this is early in the season. That's number one. And number two is, it was an early afternoon start time game yesterday for the San Jose Sharks, making this not so much that back-to-back fatigue spot that usually you might be concerned with the San Jose Sharks. I'm going to grab San Jose here. I think this is one of those teams, the elite teams off a loss, off a bad performance. That's the way I'm going with in a lot of these situations, because you'd like to trust the better elk teams in the NHL after a bad performance to pull the bootstraps up, play a lot better the next time out. I think you're going to see that from San Jose, and I think, believe it or not, having Aaron Dell in net right now until Jones gets comfortable, and he will. Jones will get better, but it might take time. Worth a look here to me toward the San Jose side, minus 110. The Flyers don't have the strong. They didn't have the greatest home ice record last year by any stretch of the imagination. Sharks did prove that they could win on the road last year. Remember, 3-2 win against LA on Friday night as well. So I'm going to grab San Jose here, even money, minus 110. Still have them as the better hockey team here in a good spot. Off a shutout loss, I think you get the Sharks. Whatever best performance you get from the Sharks, I think you got a good chance to see it here in this game tonight. So give me San Jose in that hockey game. Let's go to, let's see, is anyone on that? It does not look like it. No, that's it. So we go to the next one. Vancouver, Carolina, 5-6 on the rotation. Carolina minus 190 to minus 200. Big home favorite here. The total 6 shaded to the under. You know what? I'm very tempted by Vancouver here at this price. I mean, Carolina's never, ever a team that I'm looking to lay this price. And I like Carolina a lot this season. I'm going to like them a lot in certain situations, not laying this kind of price. And let's give Vancouver some credit. They've found the back of the net and found it with ease and with regularity so far this season. I've been impressed with what I've seen from their offense. Or defense, not so much. But when you can score goals, you're live in this kind of price range. And we've seen Vancouver. No shortage of goals so far. 9 in their first 2 games combined, both of them against Calgary. So we have not seen Vancouver outside of a game against Calgary yet. Maybe a team that's going to test them a little bit more will test them probably a little bit more from a defensive standpoint. Carolina is pretty good on the back end, but Carolina's got goaltending issues. You've got the injury to Darling to begin the season. Not that he was good at all last year, but you got to now rock with Mrazek, who was just absolutely horrible in that game against the Rangers on Sunday. Another game that was an epic shootout back and forth, OK Corral style. And then behind him is Curtis McElhinney, who has just been a journeyman backup most of his career. Although he did play well in his very first game, did play well with the Toronto Maple Leafs last year. So depends who we see in net. I'm more tempted to take Vancouver with Mrazek than I am with McElhinney. But to me, you're giving a team that's showed you with Elias Pettersson and Nikolai Goldobin and Brock Besser and Bo Horvat and a team that's shown the ability to find the back of the net here and score goals, and an offense that I think's got some decent young talent up front. Very interested in this Vancouver side at the current price. We'll see who's in net right now tonight for the Carolina Hurricanes. Probably a lean as well over the total. I wasn't expecting 6, but Because Carolina, to me, kind of an under team long term. Vancouver, I think, will be an over team this season. But 6 I was hoping maybe we'd sneak out a 5.5 in this game. But we got a 6. What else is new? It's the new era NHL, goals, goals, goals. So you're not getting many bargains as well anymore with the total. 6 is the new 5.5. 6 seems to be the new baseline total in the NHL. So looking over the total still, and that might consider Vancouver again, depending on where Carolina goes with their goaltending. Let's go to Andrew McGinnis. This is on his card, Vancouver taking on Carolina. Andrew, what do you like here in this game tonight?
Yeah, I'm going to look over the total in this one. I think that in my eyes, both of these teams are over teams. I think that I look back and I was reviewing the Carolina game a couple nights ago, and I saw that not only are they firing everything at net, but they don't really seem to cause too many turnovers. They don't really seem to have too many issues getting the puck up the ice. They don't really seem to have too many issues getting the puck out of their own end. And I think that they get off on the run quite often. They're often on 2-on-1 breakaways, 3-on-1 chances. The only thing that really hurts them is that their transition isn't that good themselves, and their goaltending hasn't been consistent either. So I think both of these two teams, they're kind of in the same boat. I mean, they have young talent. They've got guys that can score. They've got energy. They've got speed. They've got your Brock Besters, your Bo Horvats, your Pedersens, your Suitors, Virtanen, like all those names. You've got guys that can score. I mean, how about Sebastian Aho? I mean, I'm a big fan of him. He's impressed me. Justin Williams, of course. Jordan Staal is going to actually have a big year for this Carolina team, I think. But, guys, I just don't really see too much defense out of these two teams. As far as goaltending goes, they honestly both worry me. Whether anyone wants to tell me that they think that, Markstrom's going to continue to be this goalie that, and keep Vancouver in games, I don't think so. I think Vancouver will be very, very, a team that will be involved in a lot of high-scoring games so far this season and moving forward. And realistically, I think that it really is a big hurt for them losing Henrik and Daniel. People wouldn't think it, but actually defensively, just their veteran experience, knowing where to go and knowing what to do, and being out there and playing against those other opposing teams' top line. So whether we want to say it or not, guys, these two teams right now are teams on the uprise, in my opinion, but teams that have not quite learned how to shut other teams down. So in my eyes, it will be a quite back and forth game, lots of shots and a lot of opportunities for both teams. So look over the total of 6.
All right, over 6 for Vancouver, Carolina. Yeah, certainly concur with that thought. If you're Vancouver and you're Travis Green, once he's healthy, you got to give him a look. That would be Thatcher Demko. He's the best goaltender you've got currently in your pipeline, in your system. You're not going to win big long-term with Anders Nilsson and Jacob Markstrom. That's just not going to happen. That's not possible. I've seen enough of them now to know there's no consistency to their game. There's no ability to be a number one backstopper in this league long-term. So that's what I would do if I'm Travis Green. I'm looking at Thatcher Demko when he's eligible to play. Put him in there. I think he's the goalie. We don't even know if Demko's going to be good, but you got to at least give him that opportunity when he gets back from his current concussion. Alex B. Smith also has a play on the Canucks and the Canes down in Kakalaki. Alex, what's your take on this game?
Yeah, I got a slight lean toward Vancouver here in this spot, and mainly Andrew made a great point about how life without the Sedins for Vancouver has been something interesting, more so defensively than offensively. These two guys, as far as forwards go, were held up more than their fair share in the end on defense. But look at this Carolina team. I was against them on Sunday. I had the Rangers. The Rangers have probably one of the best track records against Carolina any two teams you can find. And like I said, the goaltending was just absolutely horrendous, both ends, 2-2 after 20 minutes of play. And there was only 24 shots on goal that the Rangers were able to get on Peter Mrazek, but 5 of them were able to go in. You can't trust Mrazek right now. And like to this back end for Carolina, you're looking at a high price of around plus 160 to plus 175. Like I said, you got to shop around, use SBR odds to find a decent price. Vancouver has got enough offensive talent to find the way to the back of the net against Mrazek. And for what it's worth, too, Vancouver has won 8 of the last 10 meetings. So there's clearly something there that with Carolina, even though they don't play twice a year, but Vancouver's found ways to win with less than equal talent in previous years. And the goaltending, like I said, not nearly as good now for Vancouver or for Carolina, as it has been the last 2-3 years. So I'm looking at the Canucks here at a high plus price.
Yeah, I mean, well, I like Carolina a lot, but not at this price. I mean, to me, this is just a classic case of just a little bit overpriced, this Carolina team. When you've got goaltending as marginal as theirs is, yeah, I'll be giving some kind of look here tonight to this Vancouver side at this price. That's what it's all about. The price. That's what you're betting when it comes to hockey. Next up, we've got Calgary and Nashville. Interesting Western Conference battle here between the Flames and the Preds. Nashville minus 155. The total 6, slightly shaded to the under minus 120 on that total, currently sitting at 6. And for the Calgary Flames, boy, you've got a great forward group, got a solid enough defense. You get with, there's some good defensemen back there. Brody Hannafin, of course, coming over from Carolina. It's a decent team on the back end as well, but the goaltending, from Mike Smith in 2 games has been a concern. Been massive. When your save percentage is sitting at 810, that's not good. That's not good whatsoever. And unfortunately, Mike Smith, who was very confident coming into the season, saying, I'm healthy, I feel good. Bill Peters backed him up, saying, I expect him to have a bounce-back season. Well, hasn't happened in 2 games. So we're still waiting on that start of a bounce-back season here from Mike Smith. Has not happened yet. Won't get any easier, too, because guess who you played the first 2 games? Vancouver. And now you're playing this Nashville team in what happens to be Nashville's home opener tonight down there in Music City. Going to be a very, very tall order coming up for this for Mike Smith, if he gets in net. Now, Bill Peters has stated coming into this back-to-back set for Calgary, he will give David Rittich a start in one of these 2 games. Just a question of which game that'll be tonight or tomorrow night. But either way, you've got another team with some massive, massive concerns in between the pipes right now. I would like to take Calgary at this price, but until I see their goaltending improve, I can't do it. And especially with Nashville now playing at home here, definitely a situation where you think you're gonna get a good effort at least from the Predators on home ice. And we know that if Calgary's struggling to keep the puck out of the net against Vancouver, with the 4 lines of balance, with a great defense core for Nashville that can contribute offense from the back end, they all can, led of course by PK Subban. That's going to be a little bit of a challenge tonight for this Calgary Flames team. Even though they're good on the road last year, have a chance to be a decent road team this year, they've got to iron out those goaltending issues before I can trust them. There's another game I would look to the over from a totals perspective, or I would leave the game alone. Let's get to Jimmy, because this is his first game on tonight's NHL card that he's got some interest in. Calgary and Nashville. Jimmy, take it away.
Well, you know what, guys? I'll look at it this way, and I liked your pick there, Ian, on San Jose and winning at Philly tonight. Philly's back there, first game from a trip out west. That's always tough. The home team tends to be flat when you see that happen there. And look, I'm not putting Calgary anywhere close to the level of a team that San Jose is, but I think Calgary could catch the Preds. I don't want to say the word is asleep, but a little flat. They're going to come in. There's going to be a lot of motion there. And if they can withstand that first 10 minutes of that game and they come out of that tied 0-0, 1-1, whatever, I think they could chip away. And I see a big letdown there for Nashville. I also could see Nashville overlooking Calgary right now. Obviously, the hype is around them, and everybody's talking about how great they are. I think Calgary could sneak up on them here. I'm going to go the other way and take the Calgary Flames to take the upset here on the road.
All right, a Calgary underdog bet. Yeah, I mean, Calgary's capable. That I will not.
And I love the way Kachuk's playing right now too.
Yep.
So
yep. It's just a question of can they get the stops in between the pipes. That's going to be the thing to watch tonight and moving forward, because like I say, they've scored goals. Their offense has been fine. I'd like to still see the power play get better. I know the power play really let them down in that first game that they played against Vancouver. But 5-on-5, they've looked solid. It's just a question of, can they get consistent goaltending? And that's going to be the concern, or the key moving forward, and also the concern based on what you've seen from Mike Smith through 2 games this season. Calgary Nashville's also on Dana Lane's Tuesday card. Dana, what do you like in this game tonight?
Well, guys, I mean, I hear what you're saying about, this may be a letdown spot, and that's the first thing I thought of as well. The only difference is, if I'm not mistaken, Calgary went into Nashville last year and beat them twice. So for me, this normally would be a letdown spot opportunity, But if I've circled this one on my calendar as a team that came in to a barn that they don't usually lose in and beat them twice, once in a shootout. Now, so far in both of the Nashville games this year, you cannot say to me that, hey, look, they're on they're running on all cylinders. They won a couple 1-goal games. I don't think this is the best that they can play, certainly not from an offensive standpoint. They didn't get much help from the power play at all. This was against, the Rangers and the Islanders. They received 10 points from 10, or a point from 10 different players. I still see this as a work in progress. And one of these games, I think Nashville is going to completely explode it. And I think this might be the one in a kind of a revenge spot from an offensive and defensive standpoint. I don't think that they are where they are right. They will be in a month where they are right now. They only had 11 shots through the last 2 periods against the Islanders. I don't think that's, they had a fantastic first period, and then the last 2 periods, they look, to me, they look lethargic. I think that there's another Predator team's going to go to. Not really sure is from an offensive standpoint. I mean, obviously they put up 7 the other night, but I'm not sure how I can measure where they are against Vancouver, who they've had the luxury of playing for the first 2 games. But they did score 3 power. That when I talk about or totals, I do like teams that are coming in that are playing well in the power play. The over is 8-2 in the last 10 home games for the Nashville Predators. Just food for thought on that. Of course, that's dating back to last year. But I still think, guys, I have a situation here where Nashville is going to be better offensively. They still, outside of Arvidsson, really haven't had that consistent performance yet. And I think Calgary's feeling pretty good about themselves because, A, they know they've won twice in Nashville, and B, that their power play has been, at least in the last game, very successful. So I think it's right for an over here, and that's the way I'm leaning tonight.
All right, Calgary, Nashville over 6 + 100 is what you can get on that. Yeah, I mean, Calgary's not a team I'm betting under till I see that goaltending improve. And again, James Neal's on this team now. Matthew Tkachuk's healthy. Sean Monahan's healthy. Johnny Gaudreau's healthy. All these guys that were out. Remember when Calgary fell apart late in the season last year? Most of those guys that I just mentioned were out of the lineup down that stretch. And Mike Smith was coming back from that injury. He was clearly not 100%. He was not playing well down the stretch after that injury. And that's basically what did Calgary in. They fell way out of the playoff race. And Glenn Gullison now no longer with the team as a head coach as a result. And they bring in Bill Peters in the offseason. Let's get to Alex. This is on his card. Calgary, Nashville. Alex, what do you like?
Yeah, I'm also looking with the over here in this way. I think you're getting a good price and a good number. Like I said, these 2 teams that have a ton of offensive talent. And as I posted in the chat box, both the goaltenders, if we're assuming it's going to be Smith going against Pekka Rinne, both these goalies have not had good numbers against either club dating back quite a while. So I think we could see, like I said, we haven't seen the sharpest of Mike Smith in quite a while. I don't think we are going to see it at any point. I think he is past his prime. And I think it's a Nashville team. It's a home opener. They just seem to play a lot sharper. They seem to skate a lot harder at home than they do on the road. Granted, they're still a good road team as well. I think we're going to see quite a few goals here. So I'm looking at the over 6. I was able to get it at plus 105, but like I say, you can find it even money, even laying a little bit of a price. I'm not afraid with the 6 here. I'll go with the over.
Yeah, it's no reason to be afraid of 6s right now. If you've seen the way some of these games have been, holy mackerel. I mean, Boston, Ottawa yesterday, 6-3. Look at that game. Look at 8-5, Rangers, Carolina. We obviously know about the 7-6 game, Chicago and Toronto. I mean, it's been absolutely bonkers with the goals. Now, the key thing with these totals, and we know it's been largely goal fests in the first, 5-6 days of the season here. Things to keep in mind, though. 1, there's going to be some offensive regression and some defensive tightening up at some point. It will happen. 2, if it doesn't happen, odds makers will adjust. You're going to see 6.5s. You will at some point. May take a while though, because remember, this is hockey. It's not football. This is not basketball. Odds makers aren't paying half as much attention, a quarter as much attention to hockey as they are the other sports. So you might still be able to get good value moving forward if you like betting those high scoring games and betting overs. It's just a question of when that adjustment period happens, both the play on the ice and the adjustments odds makers make off it in terms of these totals. So 2 things to keep in mind, just in the back of your mind in terms of when maybe I should look the other way in terms of totals here and this high scoring start and deluge that we've had to begin the season. Next up, we've got an interesting Western Conference game again. Winnipeg, rather, minus 190 to minus 200. Big home favorites at the MTS Center. This is their home opener this season. The total 6 shaded to the under. We got the Winnipeg Jets 1-1 on the season. I think they're looking to still raise their game another level. That's what Paul Maurice hinted at. It's a situation where against St. Louis, that was a close game. It was a pretty even game until things exploded for Winnipeg in the third period, and they end up cruising to a 5-1 win. Just an explosion. A short-handed goal to make it 2-0 really gave Winnipeg the edge and broke St. Louis's back, and Winnipeg just rode to an easy win from there. Took care of a downtrodden St. Louis team in that third period. Then against Dallas, didn't play a great game, losing to the Stars. Ben Bishop was great. This Dallas team's played 2 really good games so far this season. I know we'll be getting to them. They'll be playing Toronto as well tonight. We'll get to that game shortly. But Winnipeg, to me, if you remember last year, particularly down the stretch in the playoffs, off a loss, not just good, phenomenal. Outstanding off a loss. Almost like wash, rinse, repeat. You bet Winnipeg off a loss, you're going to really be doing well. That's what it was like last season. They were a tremendous bounce-back team. And you look at it, I mean, all the stats, if you look at all the long-term trends, Jets off a loss by 3 goals or more. Yeah, I think the trend gets even stronger with them in that kind of spot. You would expect home opener, soundly beaten by the Dallas Stars, although I think you played a little bit better than the score would indicate. This is probably a good spot here for the Winnipeg Jets. For the LA Kings, give them credit. I mean, down some guys to begin the season. Jonathan Quick out due to injury. Had to go to Jack Campbell to make his first start of the season in net against Detroit, and they got the job done. A very nice win for the LA Kings, and Jack Campbell was fantastic. But you start to worry for a young kid, Jack Campbell, here in this situation. That was at home against a pedestrian Detroit team offensively. And there he is after the game, posing with the puck, the victory puck, all happy. He got his first win. This is a goalie in Jack Campbell he's not a high ceiling goalie. This is a goalie that's been kicking around in the American Hockey League, I think, for the last 4 or 5 years now. If he's been this big time goalie that the Kings were excited about, why are we just getting a taste of him now? That's going to be the concern. What my point is here is, do I trust a guy after playing that well to play that well again when it doesn't seem like his ceiling's all that high? Because, again, he's been buried in the AHL the last few years. I don't trust him here, basically, in this kind of situation. I think it's going to be a much taller order for Jack Campbell on the road against this Winnipeg team, against the kind of firepower that we know the Winnipeg Jets possess. I think LA could be walking into a tough situation. I don't normally do this because, again, when it comes to the puck line, I like to take a puck line where I think I've got a really strong bet on and a decent bet against situation. I don't just take puck lines at a nice plus price for value or for the price. I think it's got to make sense from a spot standpoint, from a matchup standpoint, and I think it does make sense here. I took Winnipeg minus a puck and a half, plus 150, great price. Money line, of course, not even touching that. It's too high. Let's go for the 2 goals or more victory for Winnipeg. I think it's something they can get. Winnipeg minus a goal and a half, plus 150 at home, off a loss. That's been a tremendous bet on spot for Winnipeg last year. See if in the first time this year it happens, they can be just as good in this type of situation. All right, let's go to, I think that a couple of guys are in on this game tonight. Let me see. Yes. No, actually, it's just Jimmy and I here, Kings and Jets. And actually, this was Jimmy's free play article. We got to mention that Jimmy's also one of our main SBR NHL writers this season. Sportsbookreview.com. Check it out. The NHL section, the free picks NHL section, every single day. Jimmy's got articles there previewing one of the games from that card. Sportsbookreview.com. Jimmy, your take on the Kings and the Jets here.
Well, you know what? I mean, I'm just going to save us the trouble. Everything you just said, and I like Connor Hellebuyck to really buckle down in this game. I could see him getting a shutout. I predicted a 3-0 Jets win. I agree with everything you said there. And just look, it was a nice story the other night, but I think you were being very kind when you called Detroit a pedestrian offense. I think they may be even less than that. So, that's great and all that Jack Campbell got his first win. Congratulations to him. But I don't think it's going to go as well in a hostile Winnipeg environment. I like the Jets in this. And you brought up that great stat, too. is that they just always seem to bounce back from the loss. They rebound nicely. I love the veteran core of this team right now, led by Blake Wheeler, of course, the captain. They seem to have everything you need to be a contender right now, the Winnipeg Jets. And I know that, that's why they're one of the preseason picks to go all the way. I mean, a lot of people had them going to the Cup final and even winning it. And you can see why, because they've got that leadership and they've also got the skill. And you look at Laney, and I think he's due for another big game. I could see him maybe netting 2 tonight. So I'm going with the Jets at home, win their home opener, and send those fans home happy.
All right, Jets home opener. Jets win. What would you prefer personally, Jimmy? A puck line or regulation line?
I'm going to take – I'm like you. I don't like to go with the puck line, but I think it's a good play today. I would be hesitant to do it. I could see myself putting a little dinero down on the puck line, but I'm going to play it safe and stick to the money line and just go with my prediction I made on the website. But I could see it being definitely a 2-goal game easily, at least.
All right, Jets taking on the LA Kings. And if you remember, the LA Kings road record, not something special last year, and that's putting it mildly. We'll see if they can be a better road team this year. Obviously, walking into maybe a potential buzzsaw here in the Peg. We've got Toronto, Dallas. How about this one? Leafs and Stars, maybe one of the best games of the night, just because Dallas has gotten off to this great 2-0 start. They've looked awesome in doing so against Arizona and then against the aforementioned Winnipeg Jets. Dallas minus 120, home favorite here. The total opened at 6, and money's just poured in on this over. It's up to 6.5 now, and it's shaded to the over at minus 115 in pretty much every spot. Look, Toronto is I think Mike Babcock, and this is an interesting thing he said after the Chicago game. He says, I'm not going to restrain my guys, talking about his offense. He's not going to. He is looking at a situation where if I got to win a game 7-6 or 6-5 this year, I'm going to do it. They're going to let the horses run wild because they've got that offensive weaponry. They've got that offensive firepower. Don't forget, though, that was Garrett Sparks in net, too, that night in terms of the goals that were allowed. I think he was a little shaky, and I've still got major question marks about Garrett Sparks being able to perform adequately as the backup for this team. Great at the AHL level. He's been a phenomenal AHL goalie, but he's never yet been able to have that really big-time performance in the NHL, the few starts he's had, and it continued in that game against Chicago. It will be, obviously, Freddie Anderson back in net tonight for the Leafs. Ben Bishop's been great. I think Toronto, to me, is a dead nuts over team right now, but it may not be as easy for them against Ben Bishop. If he plays like anything like he's played in the first 2 games, he's been awesome for the Dallas Stars. He looks healthy. He looks confident in the net. And the Dallas Stars are a team that's in desperate need the last couple seasons of good goaltending. They have a chance to get that. I like some of these burgeoning young players, too, for the Dallas Stars. You got to admit, when you look at this team, it used to be Ben, Sagan, Radulov, shut those guys down. Nobody else beats you. Spezza had a bad year last year, but now you got, Radek Fox showed some offensive flair toward the end of last year. Devin Shore is a guy that's already hit the score sheet this season, a depth forward that can chip in and make something happen. Their back end is better. I really like them getting ex-Leaf Connor Carrick because I think he didn't get a fair shot in Toronto. I think that's a decent pickup. I think he'll be good for this team. He's already showed he's been good here with Dallas. Miro Heiskanen, great talent here on this blue line for the Dallas Stars. They're very excited about him. We know Klingberg, a great offensive defenseman on that top pair. Esa Lindell, the shutdown guy on that pair. That's a nice little offensive, defensive, blend of a top pair. You like to see that. One guy that can rush the puck, one guy that can take care of his own net. That's a good thing you like to see on the back end. So there's some good things to like about Dallas, and, of course, Bishop being healthy. So we'll see if Toronto's high-powered, prolific, dynamic offense with Marleau and Matthews and Tavares, who is Tavares with a hat trick, on Sunday against Chicago. I think Austin Matthews has scored at least 1 goal in every game so far this season for Toronto. So it's just a ton of weapons. We'll see if Ben Bishop, who's been tremendous so far, can contain them. But for me, I've had it Toronto over the total every game. I was very upset to see this total move to 6.5 during the show, no less, because this is best bet territory for me. But going to go over 6.5 here, minus 115 with Toronto taking on Dallas. Hey, the coach says, hey, we don't mind playing run and gun. We don't mind winning a 6-5, 7-6 game. Clearly, Toronto's not going to change their spots whatsoever. And again, with all due respect to Dallas's 2-0 start, Toronto's fine in the back of the net. Their power plays great. It's going to test this Dallas team a lot more here tonight. Let's go around the horn. I think there's mostly everybody on this panel has Leaf Stars, and we're running low on time. Let's go to Dana Lane, Toronto, Dallas. What do you like?
Yeah, real quick, this is interesting because the Toronto Maple Leafs are basically what the Dallas Stars were a few years ago. A ton of offense and very questionable defensively. Right now, the Toronto Maple Leafs are a perfect over team. I mean, you're going to get goals from them offensively, and they're giving up a ton of goals as well. And, this is a team that, record-wise is probably pretty happy where they are, but essentially with 2 games in overtime, I mean, they could be 0-3 at this point. Tavares and Matthews have been as advertised. I don't think Nazem Kadri's been very good in defensively. I mean, obviously he's not a defenseman, but I just think that they're from a forward perspective, it looked to me like there was a lot of emphasis on playing offensive hockey and getting into transition. Not a lot of emphasis on playing defensive hockey and playing well in your own end. I don't think Connor Brown has been very good to start the season. From a Stars perspective, I mean, you mentioned all the guys that definitely have contributed, but you still have the Radulovs and the Jamie Benns and the Tyler Sagans. They both have 4 points apiece. I mean, this to me screams over. And in fact, dating back to last season, in the Leafs' last 30 games, the over is 28-2. The over is 19-7-2 after a Stars victory, meaning that they usually stay hot offensively after starting well offensively. So to me, guys, I will be honest about this. If this card wasn't as short as it was, it might stay off just because it seemed too obvious. But this is definitely one I'll keep on my card. I don't love it at 6.5. I wanted it at 6, but it does scream over or nothing because I don't know how you can go under in a game like this.
All right, over 6.5. That's why I'm sticking with it 6.5 because, like my pal Jeff Nadu, big man on campus, says, I don't bet to push. I bet to win. Exactly. If I don't want this. It's gone from 6 to 6.5. I still think we got 7+ goals in this game. I feel good about that. I still think it can get there. Let's go to Jimmy with Toronto and Dallas. Jimmy, what do you like?
Ride the over, folks. I'm right with you guys. I mean, it's I like what Dana said. It's almost like it's too good to be true, but it's true. You got to take this over in this game. Dallas has a very potent offense. I mean, we're sitting here, we're talking about the Leafs and their run and gun offense, and rightfully so. But let's not forget what's on the other side there. There's a lot of potential goal scoring coming from the likes of Jamie Benn or Radulov, like you mentioned earlier, Tyler Seguin, and also some great offensive weapons in the back end there too. I feel for Ben Bishop and Frederik Andersen if he's the guy between the pipes for Toronto tonight. I wouldn't want to be a goalie in this game. I like the over a lot, and I'll also take the Leafs to get their second win in a row. Yeah,
and then Dallas, Jim Montgomery, I mean, it hasn't been like they had a low-scoring game against Arizona, 5-1 against – they're playing fast, up and down, up and down.
Guys,
that's the style they want.
He's going to be I predicted he's a Jack Adams Award winner, and I'm going to stand by that. And watch Dallas this year, guys. They're going to be fun to watch because I saw how Jim Montgomery used to coach in college and – the stuff he's done before. He loves to be creative. He loves to open things up. He's not going to let them be irresponsible in their own end, but he's a creative guy, and he's breathing some life into a franchise that I think had the talent waiting for that life to come along, and I think Montgomery's the answer. So they're going to be a fun team to watch this year.
Yeah, hoping for that perfect blend of offense and defense, which has eluded Dallas, and so far they found it in 2 games. Let's get to Andrew, Leafs and Stars. What do you like, Andrew?
Yeah, someone has to do it, guys, and I'm going to be the outside man here. It's kind of hearing Dana say, how could someone take the under? And I'm just sitting here like, okay. Someone has to do it, I guess. But
I've done that many times last year, Andrew. Don't worry about it. I hear you.
You did. But you know what? The reason is, guys, and I don't often do this, and everything can't always be about patterns, and you can't always be about trying to break a pattern as well. But when I look at the Toronto Maple Leafs so far, I look at their opener against the Habs. I mean, I didn't like that game at all for the Leafs defensively whatsoever. I didn't like that game for consistency. I didn't think they looked strong. The talent level that they had was not displayed whatsoever. And then, of course, look at their Ottawa game, the Saturday Night Hockey Night in Canada game that killed one of my survivor pools pretty fast. And, a a 5-3 loss is bad against this Ottawa team, but more importantly is how easy they got walked over. And of course, we all know what happened against Chicago, the 7-6 victory. And I understand a lot of people, a lot of analysts, Mike Babcock saying the run and gun style, the high paced games, and what this team's going to be about. And the headlines that I'm seeing everywhere right now is that can this team sustain their offense overpowering that weak defense, or can this high goals forward diminish their goals against? And I think that to be an elite team and move forwards, you got to show me that you can kind of at least cut that back for at least a couple games every now and then. I think this game will be one of those games. Freddie Anderson, let's not take any credit away from him. I mean, I think it would be very easy to do that right now, looking at the past couple games and what we've seen, guys. But I still think he's a great goaltender. I still think that he makes a lot of stellar clutch saves. He keeps the Leafs kind of poised and calm in a lot of opportunities where they're pushing the pace too much. So 2-on-1 breakaways end up coming back against them and on their side. And for Dallas, guys, they had that start against Arizona, who I know Ian's a little bit higher up on this year. They were minus 185 favorites, but they won 3-0, shut them out. And then, of course, against Winnipeg, a team that, like Jimmy said, is very, very high on this year. And they're going to be projected to go very, very far once again this year, and they beat them 5-1. So if there's nothing that they've proved us so far this year is that Ben Bishop and that squad can shut teams down. And that's exactly what they've done. They've shut teams down and not only produced offensively, but they've shut teams down defensively. So when I see a 6.5 and we're looking at this, I'm looking at the SBR live page right here, the odds, and I got to think I could see, a 3-1 game here, a 4-2 game, and that's all I really need. So I got to hope for some, slow starts, some competitive neutral zone time, and some solid goaltending. But I'm going to look under the total in this one. Again, this Leafs team, I know they're going to score goals. They're going to put up high numbers. They're going to be a consistent over team. But we're seeing a 6.5 here, and I'm going to go under the total with the Leafs game. And I had a little bit something on the Calgary game we talked about a couple minutes ago, but I just want to mention I like the over in that one. I think that Calgary team is going to be just exactly the same style that the Leafs are right now. Obviously, they're not as elite as the Leafs, but they're a team that's going to have to solely rely on that high-powered offense and these young guys and their youth and their ability to score. Because you look at the way they started their season off against Vancouver, that loss, it was absolutely despicable. They got walked all over. They looked depleted, and it was only the first game of the NHL season. It didn't make any sense to me. So heading back to that Hockey Night in Canada game on Saturday, I took the over in that one. We saw, I believe it was 7-4, the final score. I think it was 2-2 heading into the second period. This team doesn't care about defense. They care about offense. They care about your Johnny Gaudreaus. They care about your Monahans, your Lindholms, Backlunds, Kachucks, Neals, those guys scoring and producing because obviously defense isn't their best attribute right now. And as far as Smith goes, I'm not really buying what he's selling. And of course, Nashville, I'm not really buying what Pekka Rinne's selling either. I know Dana hasn't always been the biggest fan of Rinne, and I don't think that consistency level is there yet so far this season. So I'm going to go over the total on that one. I think it will be an over style game, style card tonight, guys, in the NHL tonight, but I'm going over in the Calgary game and under in the Leafs game.
All right, Toronto, Dallas. We'll see. It is 6.5 now, so there is some value there. All right, we're smack out of time, so 10 seconds, everybody. Best bet, Alex, quickly.
I'm on the other side of the aisle with everybody with this Toronto game. I'm not going with the total. I'm going with the side. I'm going with the Maple Leafs. You get the even money or plus $1.05. That's my best bet.
All right, best bet Toronto on the money line for Alex B. Smith. Andrew, best bet.
Calgary, Nashville over the 6. Again, I just think that both these two teams right now, they can't get defensive stops. They're going to continue to score. And, of course, Nashville right now, I don't think they've had their best game so far. They produced their quality. They'll have a big game tonight. Go over the total in that one.
All right, over Calgary, Nashville. Dana, best bet.
Make sure you look at pace of play when you're betting totals. If teams are pushing the puck up the ice, but they're still not getting the results, it doesn't mean automatically go under. I like Calgary, Nashville to go over the 6 tonight.
All right, Calgary, Nashville over. Jimmy.
Fly high with the Jets, boys.
All
Jets
right,
money line.
Jets money line for Jimmy. I'm also on that Toronto Dallas over 6.5 minus 115 is my best bet. That's going to wrap it up. Great show, guys. A great Tuesday card with 5 great hockey minds. We'll be back Thursday, 9 a.m. Eastern with our next edition of the NHL Ice Guys for Alex B. Smith, Andrew McGinnis, Dana Lane, Jimmy Murphy. I'm Ian Cameron for Sportsbook Review. Enjoy the Tuesday night NHL card, and we'll see you again on Thursday. Thanks, guys.